Remember that they're changing my voice. Okay, so I pronounce my judgments against America and Israel and so on and so forth. And keep in mind that this is something they bring upon themselves. I'm doing God's work. They're violating my constitutional rights. They cause my family physical harm with technology. And they harass them and threaten them. And they try to coerce them to keep their mouths shut and to not admit what's going on and so on and so forth. And life, as I'm sure you all know, isn't about your ability to force the government to behave. How many of you think you should be held to that standard? And I already said the miracles are figurative. God is a God of justice. Life is an obstacle course. I'm not moved in the slightest by racist whites, Jews, and LGBT people who think because they're part of a group that people should fear them. Especially when, they're very feeble compared to me on top of that. So I'm sure you can imagine that a bunch of fleas don't move a lion in the slightest. But unlike this video, I've been very polite to these people in the comments when I ask them what they think should be done with them for what they're doing. I ask in a little bit of a roundabout manner, not being too specific, so that they, won't be so biased in the response. But as I anticipate that they'll kind of share information with each other and the government will do this, that, and the other thing, I said, hey, I know there's lots of whites and Jews and LGBT people watching me, and to not respond is to plead guilty, and to plead guilty is to accept the worst punishments for their sin. So I give them a chance, like I always have for years and years and years, to make their case, to plead in a way that's more than just begging me, to have mercy on their offspring souls and stuff like that, and their souls, but in a way that reflects what actually should be done with them. I'm not interested in some kind of human conception of mercy. I'm interested in what they think is fair in regards to how much they should suffer for what they've done, in terms of their souls forever. I'm not interested in flesh-based suffering. It's an insult to God to focus on flesh-based suffering and not the suffering of the souls, right? The Bible says, even the Bible is not made by someone as smart as I am. All those people together who wrote it are nowhere near as smart as I am. But even the Bible says that the flesh means nothing and the spirit is everything. So, again, I ask my viewers here as well, when you consider what has happened here, all the harassment, the stalking, the poisoning, the fuming, the cowardice, right? One who slackens his work is brother to one who destroys. Whoever doesn't gather with me scatters. What do you think is fair, generally speaking, on the spectrum, on average? How much punishment should occur? How much punishment should you endure for eternity on your souls for your rebellion against God, your selfish and narcissistic refusal to obey God through me? Turning my family against me, even persecuting my family, and so on and so forth. Your rituals that you're doing to try to insult God, going through the motions of trying to spiritually attack God through me, trying to make it so that when I pray to God or when I call to the heavens, that I have a kind of antagonistic tone because you've made me mad and I'm talking about you and you're fuming and poisoning, and all the other things you're doing, all the rapes, all the murders, all the things that you've yoked yourself to as you're following the crowd that is part of the greater pirate ship that seeks to cheat God and I. So I'd love to hear your responses. Okay. I think that this video serves many purposes. One, first and foremost, the main purpose is moral repetition, to show God that I'm doing His work, to satisfy myself that I'm doing God's work is also another motive. The off chance that people hear it, there's people on duty, there's people who review it. The off chance that it gets the message out. I already get the message out with the bumper stickers and so on and so forth that I've had for years and years and years, and thousands of people have seen them. And all the thousands and thousands of views and comments I've made on different platforms, and the responses and exchanges that I've had. So I've got the message out, but that's not so important. What's important is that I have that moral repetition, that I do God's work. So I ask you all again, how much suffering do you think should you and your offspring endure for your treachery? Keep in mind that you come from a long line of people who are evil. The proof is in the pudding. You don't need to know history or read between the lines masterfully to see that the people around you, except for me, and there's something said about my brothers, my parents are blameless, what have you, to see the other people around you come from a long line of people who are evil enough to have produced people who respond to the situation in a certain way without producing any children that did God's work. Okay, so no bad tree can bear good fruit, and no good tree can bear bad fruit, but there are generational gene expression. But as we look at the situation, we look at the cultures, we look at the details, we carefully examine the evidence, there is too much evidence that makes it clear that people should suffer for eternity to an extreme degree, and their offspring, And they can reduce that degree, even as their offspring to some degree, by not reproducing. It's one of the main demands that God has for those who are damned to hell and everyone else, to stop reproducing. And if you're going to go to hell, that will help reduce your eternal punishment. Because it's very, very sick for you to bring in children who are doomed to go to hell, who are going to mock God, but whether they try not to or not, no matter how sincere they try to be. That's why the word sincere starts with the word sin, because in the cultures that dominate you, evil is the core point, the central organizing point, the central part of the spirit, the dominant characteristic, the prevailing tendency, what have you. And I'm sure you can tell by the subject matter and how I've committed to this in my top martial arts challenge that I'm in the right. All the rabbis, the priests, the preachers, the imams, and any other kind of teachers they have out there, they're in the wrong. Okay, they're cheating God and I resent them for it. There's no words for how much my soul is very much at odds with their souls, and my soul is in God's hands, and their soul is offending God. Their souls are offending God. Thank you.